so that's really...
How long did it take to shoot the movie?
Too long.
Go ahead, tell us.
Actually, it was amazingly smooth, even though it was incredibly hot. We shot it during the summer, and it was dreadfully hot, especially in the general's room, because the general's room was about 4 feet high, because he's a little dude. So we were all on our hands and knees. This mic is in and out, and it was like a blast furnace in there. It was like just unbearably hot to film in that one room, the general's room. But everything else was just like a breeze. It just, everybody showed up, they knew their lines, they did their thing. We had a great cameraman. Mark was on top of it, and it was a cool experience.
How long did it take to shoot the whole movie?
I think we shot the whole thing in 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably an actual shooting time.
Yeah, maybe less, but we shot it in dribs and dribs. I seem to remember 6 weeks.
How about the editing part? How long was that? How long did that take? That took a while.
It's taking a toll on me. That took me. I had a first cut in '97. That was 2 years after we started shooting. 2.5 years, and I was getting nowhere with the cut, and
you were doing a lot of street drugs at the time, though.
Absolutely, that's all I do is street drugs. And I decided to turn it into a comic book, and I worked with Harvest Works, and I added a voiceover to do the comic book reading. And one day I'm looking at it, and Nada, my friend out there, was with me, and we both agreed that the voiceover was very interesting because very good bits were coming out. So I did the thing over as a comic book with a voiceover, and then we decided, or I decided, to put that voiceover into the movie for real. And so I recut the whole bloody picture, and that took another 2 years. I mean, I didn't really finish it till the movie really wasn't copyrighted in its final form till the year 2006, December. That's an incredible
And when did you
number.
first start shooting?
Started shooting in '95.
So it took 11 years, basically,
Yeah.
from beginning to end, with the editing and everything.
But before you laugh, there's a guy down at Harvest Works who is making, I don't know how the hell he does it, he's making an anti-war picture set in World War I, but with a real budget, a low budget, but, you know, real authentic everything. And he's been working on his for 12 years. That always makes me feel better.
Wow.
And you had a Chinese version for a while, too, floating around.
Yeah, I did the
which I
comic
thought
book
was
in Chinese.
effective, yeah.
By the way, we are live, and you can call us if you have a question. We're on for a few more minutes. 212-757-1538. You can see the number right there on the screen. And we'll take your calls if you want to call in. 212-757-1538. This is Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo, and we're talking to the producers and directors and cast of the movie God is on the Other Side, which is a movie that is satirical, spoof?
Satirical. I guess,
Satirical. Movie that
Heart.
talks about war. Now, what is your general, Marcus, do you consider yourself a political person? Was this an artistic endeavor, a political endeavor? Is this a message?
Personal endeavor.
Is it a what?
A personal endeavor.
A personal endeavor.
Yeah.
It's not what you would call was this a calling that you wanted to make a statement about the war, or about the president?
I wanted to make a good movie. And
Which you did.
which
you did.
That's really what I wanted to do. I mean, I see a lot of movies, and I wonder why people bother making them very often. I didn't want to do anything like
But
that.
it is an anti-war movie in a general sense, and there are shades of Dr. Strangelove in it. You know, there's a complete surrealism to it.
It's also a very erotic. It's also a very erotic
With
film.
how could any movie with
Yeah.
Joni Musi
It's
be anything
it's
but
also a very erotic movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When can folks see the movie? Let's remind them at the Pioneer Theater.
Pioneer Theater, Friday and Saturday.
This
See
Friday
two
and
shows.
Right.
One at 10 o'clock, The Electric Chair, and God is on the Other Side at midnight, both
Right.
nights.
Friday and Saturday. And the Pioneer Theater is at Avenue A in the East Village and 3rd Street.
Right.
And it's easy enough to get to. Just get to Avenue A, either take the F train or walk over from Astor Place, and it's a few blocks south of Tompkins Square Park. So you can't miss it. And 10
Bald
o'clock.
people get in free. Bald people get in free.
Bald people get in free. Be careful what you say on television.
You know, a line of bald guys
I know.
and girls.
Coming in to get in. All right. Well, we have a few more minutes. I wanted to ask you more about a little bit about Marcus, about your background before this movie. What are some of the things? How would you describe yourself? Is filmmaker? How you would?
I didn't become a filmmaker till I used to be an
Late in
English
life.
teacher, and I didn't become an English teacher.
Then he
till I was
became an
32 years
anarchist,
old.
and then he became a filmmaker.
First, I was a bum.
First, he was a bum.
Yeah, you start out as a bum, then you work your way.
We used to
either-
call him the Ivy League bum.
Yeah, an Ivy League bum.
Were you in the Army or in the military?
I was in the Navy once upon a time many years ago. I never got shot at. I had no desire to get shot at. I would have been the first guy once was standing guard outside an empty barracks. I was watching the garbage pail. That was my job for the night. Thunderstorms, bombs going off all over in the back when they're shooting up practice, God knows what. And I said to myself, if I see any Japanese soldiers swimming across Lake, whatever it was, I'm surrendering. As simple as all that. I mean, who the hell am I to stand here with a machine gun, guard the garbage pail? He wants to fight over, that's his problem.
Right. That's amazing. So, did your experiences in war? Is that what affected you in making this movie? Your personal
Not my,
experiences?
other people's experiences. No, I'll tell you the truth. When I was a kid, I was horrified by a series that the New York Herald Tribune was at that time a Hearst paper. And when I was like 5 or 6 years old, they ran a series of photographs about World War I.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And those images stayed with me. And, you know,
I see World War I in your movie. Having seen your movie
Yeah.
and having read a lot about World War I
Yeah.
and World War II, and
Yeah.
having grown up during the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
I found that the message really resonated with the World War I experience of the meat grinder, the machine guns, the all quiet on the Western Front.
You have to
feel
remember,
of
I'm
the
81
trenches.
years old. I mean, World War
Yeah.
I is the first war I visually was connected to.
Sure.
So that's where it came from, actually.
Right. The meat grinder war.
Yeah, the meat grinder war.
Right.
Just the sheer horror of it.
Yeah. What do you want people to take away from the movie when they see it?
The desire to see it again.
Uh-huh.
In which case, they can always buy a DVD copy and
Right,
see it as
very
many
good.
times as they'd like, which I think is commendable on our part. We don't have a license agreement that you can only watch this 5 times, and you therefore,
It disintegrates.
Right.
disintegrate.
Yeah.
We have a couple of minutes. Any last words, any last comments you want to make or stories you want to tell about the making of the movie?
Only that it was really a lot of fun. I enjoyed
It
a lot
was.
of the making. The most difficult thing I had was the editing. I spent like 10-hour days, 7 days a week, for probably close to 2 solid years.
Why? What was it about the editing that was so time-consuming?
Everything. I mean, it's a very carefully edited movie, and it's,
Mark's a perfectionist, basically.
Right. And we're watching the results of it behind
Yeah.
us.
yeah. Well, you really want to see it. Obviously, you have to come to the theater at least,
Right.
and possibly buy a DVD at best.
Which will have a commentary with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing's the comic
All the bells
book,
and whistles.
the comic book, the
Everything.
Chinese comic book version, and
Oh, really?
yeah.
That's interesting. Well, we have a few more seconds, really, at this point, so I'd like to remind folks that they can see God is on the Other Side, produced and directed by Marcus Eisentein, right here with us in the studio at the Pioneer Theater on Avenue A and 3rd Street this Friday night, starting at 10. It's a double feature, starts
Yeah.
at 10, and on Saturday night as well. And I'd like to thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And we had a great time, and any last words?
See you at the movies.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll see you next week. Joni Musi, by the way, has a starring role in this movie. She'll be back with us next week. So thank you very much. And there's God behind us. There he
David
is.
Johansen.
David Johansen playing God on the other side, and that's a great thing.
Good way to end it.
Great way
Yeah.
to end it.
That's really great. Yeah, that was very neat.